Did you leave amfAR, or did Grim and you have a falling out?
Well, I left, and as a result we had a falling out, and the reason I left was I thought it was my show. And then one day I came into the office, and it was one of the networks who had received a press release from us, and first of all I was amazed that anything came from us without me knowing about it. And the press release said that heterosexual AIDS is about to happen, that straight men are going to drop in droves, and then I said something, oh, that's bullshit, where'd you get that from, you know? And then I went to Terry Byrne, that was the publicist I hired, who was in the room, and I said, what the hell's going on? And he said, oh yeah, we've been working on this, they never told me. And it was a total fraud and scam. It was a fundraising ploy, but it, you know, so efficient was he that it resulted in a Life magazine cover, which said, no one is safe from AIDS.
It was the first major magazine to do a story on AIDS. Life magazine. And Ed Barnes, if I remember, was the author, and I worked with Ed because I really thought Ed was going to do a magazine, and the title was the magazine was The New Faces of AIDS. These are my patients.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a number of them. We helped do this. This gentleman and this family I actually started a foundation with, and this young girl is from GW. But this whole thing was not supposed to be, now no one's safe from AIDS. It was supposed to be the new faces of AIDS. A soldier, a family, a woman. That was the purpose. So this article didn't do what I wanted it to do at all. I was very angry.
They know how to do these things. They put stories all over the place. And I called Matilda and I said, what the hell are you doing? We don't have any evidence that this is happening. And you're going to freak out straight guys, and I'm going to have to take them, whatever. And indeed I did. I remember a man calling me and said he was with a prostitute 3 months before. My daughter just drank out of the same glass as me. Is she going to be all right? I mean, things like that started to happen. And then I said, the next thing you're going to do is cause violence against gay men, because there were drug addicts and things, but there's a subsection of gay men that you can look at and say they're gay, and just, you know, it's just a subsection, and they would be the targets of violence. And I said, that's what is going to happen, and it did happen. And I said, well, I can't, you know, I just can't be associated with, I have no control, and this is a terrible thing to be doing. And then I had a falling out with her. You know, I was really pissed off. Really, I thought it was terrible. Interestingly enough, years later, I had a meeting with Terry Byrne. We reminisced over this, would have been 4 or 5 years later, and he said, you know, if we had to do it again, I'd do it again, because once he put out the scare, you know, the money started to flow, it really did. All of a sudden, AIDS was a very fundable project, and I suppose the psychology they worked on was the fact that they thought, well, in Congress, essentially this is white, straight, heterosexual men who are the congressmen, and if they feel they can't fuck around without, you know, being worried about AIDS, they're going to let the dollars out, and it worked.
Apparently, and I don't know much about this, they market covers of magazines in different areas, and the cover, The New Faces of AIDS, didn't do as well as the cover No One's Safe from AIDS. So now this whole article, which was supposed to get people to embrace the AIDS epidemic and all its new faces, most people never even read the article, they just saw the cover. No one's safe from AIDS. Different message.
Isn't that ethically wrong to scare an entire population?
What do you think? Listen, you live in this world, you know that's exactly what they do.
On May 1st, 1996, the Wall Street Journal published an article that basically exposed the propaganda campaign that had been waged by gay professionals in the public relations industry to persuade the American people that AIDS was something that would affect everybody, and to persuade the American government to think of AIDS as something that would affect everybody. Now, these revelations had actually appeared before, particularly in Celia Farber's articles in Spin magazine, but the Wall Street Journal really pushed it to, obviously, a much wider audience, and basically made the statement, with which I thoroughly concur, that the government had been persuaded to spend an enormous amount of money on AIDS on the basis that it would affect everybody, and in the process probably not only spending more money than it needed to, but spending it in places that were highly unlikely to be affected and neglecting the gay communities and other places where the epidemic really was a serious health risk.
AIDS is the best example of what's really scary and alarming and dangerous about our culture right now, which is that it's a culture of PR. It's a public relations phenomenon. The truth doesn't matter. What matters is the image. If we were talking about reality, the reality is that AIDS is over.